Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name's Lane, and today I'm just going to do a little birthday book haul. My birthday was like middle of February, but I ordered some of these books on my birthday and wanted to wait till they got here, so that's why this birthday book haul is going up in March. So yeah, anyways, I want to just talk about the books that mostly I've just gotten recently too, because some are pre-orders. First, I want to talk about the books that haven't come quite yet. I do just want to get this video done, so I want to talk about those, and then I'll talk about what I physically have already. So let's get started. Okay, first up I have Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. This is a book about a young British painter named Cleo, who I believe is living in New York and ends up meeting Frank, and I believe there's quite a big age gap between them, and they end up getting married, and so it's just kind of about an age gap marriage in general, mental illnesses. I think that's about it. That's about all I know. So I think it's supposed to be a bit contemporary, and we shall see what happens on Instagram. I've heard really good things, so I definitely can't wait to get to it. Up next, I have a collection of poems, and this book is called Bless the Daughter Raised by the Voice in Her Head. Like I said, it's a collection of poems by Warsan Shire. I hope I said her name right. But these poems are about migration, womanhood, trauma, and resilience from the celebrated collaborator on Beyonce's Lemonade and Black is King. She is a Somalian British poet, so I'm definitely excited to read her poems. I've gotten a little bit more into poetry. I read Life of the Party by Olivia Gatwood, and I really liked it, so I was intrigued to get some more poetry. Next up, I got The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker, and this is a Troy War retelling from women's point of view, I believe from Breezes' point of view. I think that's how you say her name, which she was in the Song of Achilles, probably in other stories of course, but I believe it's mostly from her point of view. I was a little bit hesitant because I really like how she was portrayed in the Song of Achilles, but I have a feeling Achilles is not going to be portrayed very well, so I was a little bit worried, but that's probably the reality of it. And I won't let that taint my love for the Song of Achilles, so I'm definitely excited to read it, and I've really been enjoying the mythology retellings from women's point of view in these myths, because usually you hear about the men, and we're just tired of that, aren't we? Anyways, next I got 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. This is also a Trojan War retelling from women's point of view, but I believe it's multiple women's points of view. So I thought that was interesting too. Probably be a bit of a contrast between The Silence of the Girls and 1,000 Ships. It does say 1,000 ships puts the women, girls, and goddesses at the center of the Western world's greatest tale Western world's great tale ever told. I don't know why I messed that up so much. But yeah, I'm excited to get to that as well. Next up, I got Galatea by Madeline Miller. This is her short story that she's releasing, and I believe it's about Galatea, who is a wife, and she's expected to be obedient and is somewhat manipulated by her husband, and I think just it's gonna be about defying her stupid husband and women, essentially. So I'm excited to read that. Madeline Miller's an instant buy, so I'm sure it'll be great, and I'm excited for it. Next up, I got Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. This is her debut novel, I believe, and I think it's about a girl who ends up in this romance that is all-consuming, probably not great. It says, Acts of Desperation interrogates the nature of fantasy, desire, and power, challenging us to reckon honestly with our own insatiability. So, I've heard pretty good things, and I really loved the cover, so we shall see how this goes. And lastly on the list of books that haven't quite come yet is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper, and this is about women who are in a brothel in Pompeii, and more specifically a woman named Amara. I think that's how you say it. I know this is going to be a trilogy, so this is the first book in the trilogy, and like I said, I'm just loving these sort of retellings, especially from the women's point of view, so I have been seeing this everywhere, was really interested in it, so I finally picked it up. This does say, The Wolf Den reimagines the lives of women who have long been overlooked. Love that. Now on to the books that I physically have here with me, and this is in no particular order, as you are probably seeing with the books that I don't have here. There is no particular order to this. I'm just going through this as quickly as possible, since these book hauls can be kind of long. Firstly, I have Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I have been seeing this on Instagram a lot and was kind of like, okay, that's an interesting name. Also love the cover, and I sort of read about it, and I'm very interested in this unhinged things going wrong in women's lives type of thing, and what that might mean for them. So I think that's kind of what it's about. This woman photographs men, and things start going wrong after she gets an exhibition, and sounds like she goes into a self-destructive tailspin, as this says. So should be good, and I'm excited to get to it. Next up, I've talked about this in my readathon TBR. This is Winter in Sokcho. As you can see, I've already started reading it a little bit, and this is about a little town, Sokcho, that borders North and South Korea, along the coast, I believe. And I think it's supposed to be kind of weird and interesting, maybe a little bit fantastical, but we shall see what happens. That's all I can really say. Next up is another readathon book. This is Shoko Smile, and I know it's a collection of stories, and I've heard amazing things about it on Instagram and YouTube, so I am excited to read these short stories, and that's really all I can say. I know the main story, Shoko Smile, is about a friendship between a Korean and Japanese girl that unfolds over 13 years as they chase their dreams. So that one sounds interesting. Hopefully the rest will be too. Next up is another readathon book, and I believe the last one in the pile that I have. That is The Red Palace by June Her, and I've heard good things about this author. The other book that I would like to read by her is The Silence of Bones, I believe. Silence of the Bones? I think it's Silence of the Bones. But this one, it does say to enter the palace means to walk a path stained in blood. So 4 women are murdered in this, and this palace nurse and a police inspector are searching for the killer, and it's possible that it could be the crown prince himself. So sort of about a murder on the loose in, I think it's set in 1758, so we shall see how that goes as well. Next up, I've talked about this a lot, but I have Daughter of the Moon Goddess. This was a pre-order from January. This is by Sue Lynn Tan, and it's obviously about the daughter of the moon goddess. And I know it's a Chinese mythology retelling. That's about all I know, and I'm excited for it. So I am hoping to get to this month. Next, I've also talked about this a little bit, is A Very Nice Girl by Imogen Crimp. Really love the cover and that color of blue, first of all. Secondly, this is about what it is to be young, what it is to want to be wanted, and what it is to find your calling but lose your way. I think it's about a girl who kind of knows what she wants to do with her life and then ends up in a relationship that's not very good, a lot of red flags, and I think she sort of starts to, as it says, lose her way a little bit and needs to try to find her way back to herself. So that should be interesting as well. Next up, I have Dead Blondes and Bad Mothers by Sandy Doyle. This is mostly about fearing female power, and I think she pulls a lot of examples. Like one of them is Lilith from the Bible, Dracula's Lucy Westenra, even the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. So I think it's just supposed to be exploring men scared of female power, the patriarchy, and stuff like that. I'm excited to read it. Also, the cover, I kind of love that. Next up, I have another poem collection, and this is Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. I've heard really good things about his writing, and this is quite short, but I'm very excited to get to it. I also have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, so I can't wait to read that. And that's about it. Next up, I have The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. Hopefully I said that right. But this is about an 18-year-old Native American girl who I think gets caught up in a murder, like witnesses murder, and things just keep going wrong, and finds herself caught in a web of deceit that threatens the people she loves most. I've heard really good things about this. This has been on my list since it came out, but I've been dying for the paperback, so I finally got it. Next up, I got A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summer, and this is about a woman who loves food, and I think she's also a psychopath. So we shall see what happens with that. More just unhinged women, and I'm here for it. Also the cover, nice little painting. Up next, I have Detransition Baby by Tori Peters, and this is about a female-female relationship, but Amy decides to detransition and become Ames, and so it's sort of about it's about Ames, and then it's also about the girlfriend that Ames left behind, Reese, kind of what's happening with her and what's happening with Ames at the same time, and as well as there being a baby involved. So this should be good. I've heard pretty good things, and it's been on my list for a while now, so I can't wait to get to it. Next up, I have an anthology of poems by queer poets of color, and there's quite a few on here. It's kind of hard to tell, but this is a list of names, and at the end it even says plus more. So I'm very excited to read this and can't wait to see what poems I connect with. Next, I have Love in Color by Baloo Babalola. I think I said her name wrong. But this is mythological, oh my gosh. This is mythical tales from around the world retold. So more retellings of other tales from around the world, as it said. instead of just the typical Greek retellings. So I've heard really good things and can't wait to get to it. Also, that color on the cover is amazing. Next up is another collection of poems by Courtney Peppernell, and this is Watering the Soul. This is the Target exclusive edition, which I thought was super cute. But this is just about watering your soul, and poems are just about, I think, connecting to yourself, and it's got cute little illustrations and should be a good read. Next up, I have Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, and I believe this is a fantasy that I'm very excited to get to. I think I've had this on my like to read list on Goodreads for quite a while, and I don't know why I kept putting it off. Probably because I'm like, oh, there's so many fantasy books that I want to get to, but I finally decided to purchase it and I can't wait to read it. And I think the second book is coming out soon or has already come out. I'm not sure on that. Next I got the paperback edition of A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I haven't read this yet, but I wanted the paperback edition firstly because it's really cool. Very dark academia vibes, which I think is kind of what this is about. Also witches, there's female-female romance. Other than that, that's about all I have to say for that. And lastly, another collection of poems, and this is the Essential Rumi. So it's poems by Rumi. This is translated by Coleman Barks. But Books with Chloe and Caitlin from Kate Literature are really enjoying this, so I thought that would be fun to get to as well. Like I said, I want to get into some more poetry. I always felt I either like wasn't smart enough to get it or wouldn't like it just in general. But Life of the Party really taught me that some might connect with me, like some of the poems, and some might not, or I just might not get it. So I sort of liked that, but there was still something to like be said for all of them. So I am excited to get to some more poetry this year. But other than that, that is it for this book haul video. I hope you find something that you would like to read or maybe is already on your shelf and has reminded you to pick it up. But anyways, hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Take me to